The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Leadership Podcast. It is yet another edition of the Big Issue. And of course, we are already behind schedule. Without wasting time, I'm your regular host, George Jagba is my name. And of course, we have another regular face in the studio, our in-house analyst, Silas Ezegu.
You're welcome today.
And of course, Henry Toemba is here also.
Thank you.
Together, we'll be addressing the big issue of the day, which is the federal government caving into ASUU's grandstanding. Federal government yesterday caved in to the demands of academic staff union of universities, including the review of the no work, no pay policy and the increment of salaries. The federal government said it could only afford a 23.5% salary increase for all categories of the workforce in the federal universities, except for the professional cadre, which will enjoy a 35% upward review. This is even as President Muhammadu Buhari warned the government team involved in the negotiation with the striking ASUU against signing any agreement which the government will not be able to implement. Well, it appears that the end of the over 200-day strike by the academic union is close to the end. What is the situation, Henry, with what happened yesterday at the meeting between the pro-chancellors and vice-chancellor and the federal government? It seemed as if the federal government was able to meet, if not all, as I say, almost all the demands.
Thank you for that. Let me first of all begin by saying that the crisis in the education sector is far from being over. When federal government summoned that meeting with ASUU, most Nigerians were thinking that there will be a positive outcome from the meeting. And most Nigerians were so happy, most of them who are not following what is happening in the sector or the crisis between ASUU and federal government were thinking that federal government is making progress. But I would like to say that the crisis is far from being over, because the issue of no work, no pay is one among the lists that ASUU is demanding. So we're expecting that the federal government will first of all address some of the major issues of ASUU demand, which include, among others, the issue of the University Transparency Accountability Solution, replacing IPPIs, the issue of listing 170 billion funds, immediate release of 170 billion for needs assessment, and the immediate release of 50 billion for earned academic allowances. But the federal government failed to touch some of the major issues that of concern from the union. And before that meeting, I had contact with most of the ASUU members, especially the ASUU branch chairman, University of Abuja, and they are still insisting that the federal government could not address some of the major issues which have been issue of, which is not even included the no work, no pay salary. They will not call up the strike. So I don't see any positive sign that the strike will call up. So if federal government failed to address some of the major issue, which is not even the issue of no work, no pay salary.
So does that actually entail that even when the federal government assured that henceforth allowances pertaining to the ad hoc duties of academic and non-academic staff shall be paid as and when due? That is what they said.
Yes, talking about the salary increase, they're talking about 23% increase for lecturers and 35% increase for professors. Prior before that meeting, the committee of vice chancellor recommended to federal government to increase the salaries of lecturer professors to 800,000. If you estimate that, which is about 50% increase.
Yes.
So which is not even up to what the federal government is requesting.
Yeah, what ASUU is requesting?
ASUU, the committee of vice chancellor recommended 800,000, which is equivalent of 50% increase. The federal government is requesting only proposing only 35% of salary increase, which is not up to 600,000.
Silas, you can imagine if you make a demand of about 50%, and then you get 35%, that is above 50%. I don't think that is a bad deal anyway, because at the end of the day, in as much as we'll agree that the lecturers they deserve more, our teachers in the country they deserve more. The federal government should now go beyond what it has the capacity to do.
Okay.
Remember the Minister of State for Labor and Productivity, Festus Keyamo, said at the point he came to, although he received a lot of bashing for that, he said that ASUU is not only the institution, government institution or the organization. If they start facing the medical, the doctors, they're facing other sectors, then at the end of the day, it becomes a situation where even the government itself cannot be able to have funds to govern the country.
Okay. Thank you for this question. I will even go back to say that even this 50% that the vice chancellors and presidents recommended is not even what was recommended initially by the BRICS Commission.
Yes, they recommended 1.2 million.
No, there was 119% increase, which comes to either 1.2 or 1.6. I don't remember the figure for the professor, and in that case, to also affect the child. So this 50% was even what the lecturers, and it was government that set up that committee. Now these versions are now bringing in this 50% as they can, okay, let us come down to 50% if we cannot go to 119%. Okay, now so nobody even knows whether ASUU will accept the 50% if it comes. Whether they still want to insist on the other one that was negotiated by the stakeholders in the university sector. Okay, that's by the way. Yeah, government has reason to be concerned because if they are seen to have just given paid lecturers the way lecturers are asking to be paid, they deserve it. Not just lecturers, everybody deserves to be paid well to survive in the Nigerian system, the inflationary trend in Nigeria and co. Where the value of Naira has gone to places, but the government should just give in to that. Like you feared, other unions might begin to have to be treated in the same manner. The medical field, they're there. Other sectors are there.
Yeah.
Also, the security sector there too. Those who are fighting, killing themselves in the field with their lives. If you look at what they take home, you'll be shocked. So if they begin to match it up this way, the thing that actually rankles is that just recently, the story that these people are carried on the weekend, what percent increase they increase for them for their duty to allowance? You know what the percentage the story carried over the weekend?
Yes.
About government increasing the duty to allowance of ministers and councils and so. You can see how they treat themselves so well. And if also another see that it's okay. So if you can treat yourself so well, why not us? And they even feel like they're doing more than these people. Ask every lecturer what he handles, how many people he produces. The university sector is the custodian of the intellectuality that can drive Nigeria forward if we're honest. The other countries are doing well because the university system is producing the required manpower that will drive government, drive governance, drive business, drive other sectors of life. So that plays a very important segment of a society's development and should not be treated with levity. So, but this crisis has gone on for so long, and for government to set up this committee to revisit the no work, no pay, and other things there, it means that possibly they are trying to find a way out. Okay, because I remember a few weeks ago when the government side said they have met 80% of ASUU demand, but they will not pay those who are not working. That looked an argument that I knew that lecturers will not take, because government can try to renege an agreement and try to use hunger to drag them out, and they drag it for 1 year. Then but lecturers, okay, so if we go back to lecture hall now, we are going to catch up. All those academic things we have done, all those work we have done, we will do all of them so that we can, roll over and continue. So all those things are there, but I commend government for looking into it. I think that if they are sincere Because if you are beginning in good faith, the lecturers will know. If you are sincere in what you are beginning and they put a card on the table, and the lecturers say, okay, look, you can do this one, you cannot do this one. They will not ask you to do what you cannot do. But the interest of country should paramount in this. But if the lecturers see that the government is living larger than life, there are a lot of waste. Spending. Look at the budget, you see something that will cost 2 naira, they write 200,000 naira, and they see a few smart crooks in government, making away with billions and billions and building estates when they cannot even on their salary train their children in the same universities where they are working. It's very, very annoying. I have a lecturer friend who told me that on his salary he cannot pay the school fees of his own kids who are going to university secondary schools and go within the same where he works. How he works every day. So and it's almost a PhD holder right now. So that is what is ranking them. And they can see maybe a small political office holder, maybe councillor, what it takes. You'll be considering maybe a councillor that maybe just a talk out of primary school or secondary school, and it's what is collecting from government is more than what a professor. When you look at all these things, that's why they are so adamant and so, like I said, sitting and standing on the demand that took. You can't take us for granted. So I think that those are the issues, and that it's not something for people like Emma and Co to come and talk to them down. If there were no lecturers and Tana would not be a lawyer. You understand? It will not be a lawyer. All the people who have done their masters and who are in business class, all those people, company owners and co who went to school, they will not be where they are. So the question stop. And I want to stop for a short, but I'm also saying that they look into lecturers issue. They should also know that education does not end with tertiary education. Even down there, it is people that produce those who go to secondary school, who go to university. Before the product go to university level, some people took time from the cradle to groom these children to the point. So they should also look it down the line and see what they can do to make life more meaningful for those who are producing all of us.
Well, thank you, Silas. The big issue is open to contributions, and of course, we hope that our viewers will contribute constructively to the conversation on the big issue by sending in their comments, which at the end of the day we will make public by reading them out. We'll go for a short break and we'll be back in a moment.
For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter.
Welcome back. We are still on the big issue in Leadership Podcast. And of course, the big issue of the day is the federal government's submission to the demands of ASUU. Yes, you spoke something about the federal government not meeting the demands of ASUU completely. And you say that the industrial action and the federal government ASUU impact is far from abating. Well, Nigerians would have thought that the increment of 23% and for all for all staff of the university, I think administrative staff,
For professors.
and so that would have been enough. But I think you are talking as if you know that there are certain things in that demand that are still left untouched. What are those things?
So first of all, another area of concern is that most of the area that federal government have agreed with the ASUU to work on, they are not working on it now. Their target is to include them in the 2023 budget. That's mean we have to wait from now till next year. The next election will be by next year, February or so. That means as Nigerian students will have to wait from now till next year, in which, and another implication of that in the education sector is that we already have backlogs of admission seekers. Those who wrote JAM in 2021, 2022 are already waiting. So if this strike will not be called up before the end of this year, that means we are going to sacrifice one section. So it will have a serious impact on the education sector. So I think if government is serious enough to make sure that this strike is called up, the best thing to do is to make sure that it address some of the urgent issues on ground.
Okay, are you trying to say that this increment of salary will take effect first from next year?
Most of the demand include, because ASUU is asking for 170 billion, 50 billion for end academic allowances. And most of the demand, federal government agreed to attend to them, but to include them in the 2023 budget. They are not acting on them now. So the major issue has been for ASUU to accept federal government demand. That means all their fights of over 7 months, nothing has been attended to. And by the time we get to next year,
does that mean that even if they finally review that no work, no pay policy and then decide to pay them even the backlog of the salaries they are owing them while they were on strike, ASUU will still not call up the strike?
That has been some of the major issue of concern, because the major demand of ASUU is not the no work, no pay salary. That issue just came out of the 7 or 6 demand.
But the federal government is actually saying that it's going to do all these things, and now the issue now borders on the budget. At the end of the day, you cannot start paying this new salary scale and some of these allowances they're talking about with the old budget, because already we are in this is September. This is almost the end of the year.
Government can
So what are you saying, Silas? Are you saying that the ASUU should wait until the end of this year until government includes that in the budget? Can't they begin considering that? Just like what Terry has said, that you will stay now, and then once we stay till the end of this year, that means one academic session is not.
So the issue is
no, there should be a limit. There should be a level at which you will be considered.
Yes, they can consider. They cannot stay at home hungry for 6 months and then just start to work without anything.
No, they will pay. They know work no paid is being reviewed. That means they will pay them that backlog of salary. What bothers now is what the federal government has agreed to. Or no, they cannot start paying them within this. Okay, it can't start from these few months that are left in 2022. That means it has to be included in the 2023 budget.
No, it's they're also worried. They're also a bit afraid because this government is sitting next year, and they can set agreement now.
That means they know that
they want to kick the can down the road.
They escape.
Just that they kick the can of the.
Especially as election is coming next year.
Just as they kick the can of withdrawal of subsidy to the next government. You can also, by the time you enter election next year, that will not be on a strong footing now to start going on strike again, because already this government is checking out, a new government is prepared to come in. So they don't even trust that the government, they may not even trust that the government can be trusted with next year.
Yes.
Because if government does not fulfill, you can't hold them again because they're living power.
The thinking is that it is a ploy to lure them into
so
that the present government will escape it, especially we are in an election year, so that by next year after the election and the rest they see go.
So that's and they understand that these issues started before this strike. So the government already knew that this issue was already on ground long before the strike started. So if government had good mind from last year's budget, they would have planned for some of these agreements, because these are things they signed in the past. And there was a strike last year. There was a strike 2 years ago. In fact, even during the COVID, there was a strike too. And some of these issues discussing now were also what were on the table at the time. So if government were sincere, by the time we're planning this budget, they would have taken some of these issues with ASUU and with other unions which government has be talking to. So, but to do it that completely and now begin to ask them to understand that they can wait until next year when the government is trying to shut down. ASUU may not look at it that these people are abused this year. So we have a government system that does not know how to fulfill agreements. So but I know that both students, parents, the whole country is tired of the strike.
Of course.
Even the lecturers who are on strike
It is annoying.
are tired of the strike themselves.
Imagine
they don't want to
beginning
start
to toy with the future of our youth.
And even the
Young
soldiers, I even wonder how they are managing to survive the hardship in the country. Even those who are working already, they're having difficulty surviving the harsh economy. Not to talk of those who are not being paid at all. And there are a lot of people who are start going to do kabu or do okada to survive. So you can see that they're holding a principled stand, and that if they fight this battle today, they know how to fight it tomorrow. That's why it may be difficult for to convince them that after fighting so much, that the government can also work. So they can still go and do a supplementary budget to take care of this thing if government feels it's important.
Well, Henry, you are talking. Well, you know the meeting now involves the pro-chancellors and the vice chancellor, and you know most CSOs and most persons, even the pro-chancellors, the committee of pro-chancellors, they had come out to say the federal government should democratize ASUU, making it so that it becomes a voluntary association. Not that when you are now an academic staff of a university, you automatically become a member. And that is an option. In the event where ASUU refuses to understand with the federal government, they proscribe the association and make it redundant. And then so go ahead. And then they'll begin to deal with lecturers individually. If you don't come automatically, you don't want to work. Don't you see a situation where we are now heading towards that direction?
Well, for now, let's not go deep into that because federal government already said that they have not even taken any decision to whether to prescribe ASUU or not. But the issue on ground now, because I have had contact interaction with some of the ASUU members, and they told me that even so, there has been claimed that some state universities are pulling out of the strike.
Yes.
So I intervened to know whether such has been taking place, and
the
information I got was that most of the state universities who are pulling out of the strike are those who have been on suspension before ASUU embark on this strike. So some of them are already taking that kind of advantage to deceive or convince the public that they are not part of ASUU. Meanwhile, they were already on suspension. So we could not dive into that now to know whether ASUU may be proscribed. And
so in all this, what is the way forward now?
I think the way forward, unlike other Nigerians would say that ASUU, for the future of the country or the future of our students, they should just consider them and call of this strike. If not, if ASUU fail to back down, I don't see any seriousness from federal government in fulfilling all about 6 or 7 of their demands. So the way forward will be that ASUU will just consider the future of this country because so many students, some of them are already considering dropping. Even if ASUU suspend this strike today, more students that I've had contact with will not go back to continue with their education.
Well, Silas, even you know very well that in life, you must make sacrifices.
Yes.
When you even talk of the economic hardship, you discover that this does not only pertain to academic staff, Everybody, every Nigerian is involved. Inflation rate, the growing poverty. Even you, as you're talking here, I'm very sure that the salary you earn, it's not even enough for you, considering the high cost of living now. Don't you think? And politicians will always be politicians because there's no way you can take that from them. Whether the federal government is doing this to escape this by bringing the lecturers back to school, so to save its image, especially as we approach the 2023 general election. Don't you think on the part of us, they should understand that the sacrifice they have to make is to consider the fact that the future of the youth, these students, is in jeopardy. They continue to make them stay at home because it has nothing to do with only them missing the academic session. Most of them are taken to crimes, drugs, and because of the fact that they are idle. They say an idle mind is a devil's workshop. Some of them came to APC here last week, the NANS, National Association of Nigerian Students, who came to meet the NWC to stamp their dissatisfaction with the way the NANS election went. And it turned to a free-for-all fight at the APC Secretariat, engaging the security who had to start throwing tear gas canisters and the rest. If you see fight, that is actually.
They are great.
You could imagine where what is the impact of this ASUU strike. Keeping idle students who have turned their attention to inanities and irrelevant things, even politics. And they are even learning within the ropes to become like these same politicians because they are not in school to concentrate. Don't you think ASUU should consider all these things and just give the federal government the benefit of that?
Yes. In every agreement, for that to be peace, both sides have to make sacrifices one or the other. Government must sacrifice on this side, ASUU must sacrifice. They can meet themselves in the midway, and but the government needs to show up so that they are negotiating in good faith. That's. I don't think ASUU people are so
Heartless
and so
considerate.
they cannot understand simple arithmetics and simple the economics of the situation. So I think what they need to do is to sit down, call them together, and say, fine, you have made your point. We've treated you bad in this way, but as this is now, let's find a way forward. What can we do? What minimum can we take so that we can resolve it for everybody's sake? Because even the lecturers talking about, their children are also at home. Most of them don't have the money to send their children abroad like the politicians do. And government officials who have access to government money in Abuja, other states too. Most of them have children who are also students within the universities, but they manage to get as much from them. They don't have money to pay for private universities, most of these universities. And however much you look at it, private universities don't have the kind of intellectual depth that you have in public universities, even though they pay an arm and a leg more. So those who consider their own children that go also at home and they find a way to fine. You cannot get everything. You ask for 100%, well, you can't get 100% everything. You cannot take this one, and then let us start. Then next year, give them, even if it is a written, I don't know how to securitize that agreement that next year it will not escape. But just bear with us now. Make a binding commitment that these things must be implemented next year, whether practice or not practice. So if ASUU sees that thing, I think that then we also bring in some other good negotiators in the Nigerian system to prevail on them. It's okay, fine. Let's try this one. And then we'll not be disappointed. There's some individuals in Nigeria that if that's what we'll see, talking to them, they will calm down.
Well, thank you, Silas. I think Silas has actually concluded the matter that ASUU should be considerate, not because they are trying to please the same government that is frustrating them, but at least for the sake of the students. Of course, between stubborn defense of position and fearless discussion, there is a nexus of understanding. And that nexus, in this case, is that the future of our youths in Nigeria must be secured. That is the much we can take for today's edition of The Big Issue. And of course, I thank our viewers for keeping tab with us out there. And of course, our in-house analysts for addressing the big issue the way it is. Join us same time tomorrow for another edition of this program. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.